What's up guys, Midnight Hatter here, coming to you with another video update on my ZGOC build challenge with ErrorFoolError. For those of you who didn't catch the announcement live stream, each of us are starting with a high-grade Universal Century Shards ZGOC model kit, and we're each customizing it and writing up our own backstory for why this mobile suit would exist in universe. And then we're going to turn it over to you, the viewers, to vote on who made the better build. So in this phase of the build process, I've broken everything down and I've sanded off all the nub marks even further than they already were. And I'm going in and adding some rivet holes, much like Action Playtop's technique, using a file though instead of a hobby knife. And I am going to do some minor panel line scribing on this kit. I am using this gun primer panel line scribe that it looks like a mechanical pencil, which I actually really enjoy because it gives you a familiar grip on the scribe while you're carving in your panel lines. Now I'm not going to go too crazy with it. I'm just adding a few minor touches just to up the detail a little bit. I'm not going to do any big cutaways or anything like that. Now, one of the things that I struggle with is getting my rivets symmetrical. Now, I've tried a couple of different techniques using tape, just eyeballing it, and honestly, the best results that I have gotten are from working with a small point, like the tip of this chisel, and then working my way up to a larger hole. And that way, if the hole is slightly off, I can just adjust for that when I make the hole larger, as opposed to making a large hole and not being able to do anything about it. Alright, so like now you can see here, these holes are just ever so slightly off. So when I go in with the larger file tip, I'm actually going to sort of steer that hole up so that it matches this one. And this one I'll go ahead and steer it down. And now we'll file down some of that excess, and they're much more even now. And that about does it for the legs. Like I said, I didn't do too much with them, just added a few extra lines and plenty of little rivet holes. And now the final step here is to clean off any excess and make sure that there isn't any debris on the parts so that they are ready to paint. Now that that's all done, we're going to go ahead and pop all of these parts on their own alligator clips and prep them for some spray painting. And here we have my state-of-the-art airbrushing studio. Seriously, do not try this at home. I just used an old cardboard box and an open window. I swear that the window is open above the box. And I'm going to be using rattle cans because I am a lazy piece of trash. But always test your paints before you go ahead and put them on the parts, and I think that this is going to look all right. And again, because I'm an absolute savage, I'm just going to go straight onto these guys with no primer. Now, of course, these particular spray cans state that they do not require primer, but I guess we're going to put that to the test. Now, when I'm using spray cans that are not intended for model kits, my technique is to always try and put as much space between the can and the part as I possibly can, just to make sure that I don't get any pooling or globbing up on the part. And you'd actually be surprised at how well it works. Now, just off camera there, you can see I've got a styrofoam block, and each part has its own alligator clip and skewer that is holding it in the air, and I'm working delicately to not bump into each other, and I'm working delicately not to bump any parts into each other. But overall, I'm really impressed with the way these paints turned out, especially the matte black. I think looks fantastic. So yeah, overall I'm very satisfied with the performance of these paints, and I'm going to show you the results in just a moment. But it wouldn't be me if there was not a disastrous setback, and you could say that I paid for my hubris using paints that were not intended for Gunpla. So now, for some reason, and I'm going to chalk it up to lack of primer, I got this weird wrinkling of the paint on the surface of just the head part of the Zigok. And I tried to remove it with just a little bit of thinner and ended up basically melting the pegs of the part off. Now, I'm no stranger to broken parts. After all, this part itself had a broken peg already that I had replaced with green stuff. But for damage this severe, I'm afraid that I'm going to have to make a resin copy of the part using my other HG Zigok. Call it cheating if you want. And now I present to you in all of its headless glory the painted Z-Grappler. I still need to add some decals and do some weathering, but that's where I'm at so far. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Tony, who's going to share with you the updates on his Zigok.
Alright guys, let's get this modification started. When I start building stuff, or when I do build stuff, I like to have flathead screwdrivers, and it just helps me takes out the pieces and stuff like that. Oh yeah, I didn't explain what I was going to do. Well, I believe this modification will be the easiest because this is a ball joint and this goes with a peg. And I'm thinking if I could sand down this ball joint, I could just put this arm right in. Have no problem. So let's try to do that. Ooh. I could cut it off, but it may be too short. I'd rather just play it easy and just Oh, and when I do this, this is a really old nippers. I don't know where I got it from, but it's not made for the hobby. Or maybe it is, I don't know. But it won't break, it's not delicate. And yeah, don't use your good nippers to do this, alright guys? And especially this plastic. It's ridiculously difficult. I go slowly because I don't want the plastic to come up and hit me in the eye. I'm in no rush. Let's try it out. It is a tight fit, but I think I'm gonna sand it down a little bit more, but I believe it will work. With my luck, it's actually better to be too thick than be too skinny, because I never have any good luck. There we go. Making these party caps. You know how they tell you to use super glue and whatnot to make the party cap thicker? I never have good luck with that, so I try to avoid it. I'd rather be more tighter than loose. And there we go. We have a dom arm on our Zigok. Boys, we started. See, this is the problem. I like playing with my toys, so with my model kits. So I like to do something, rebuild everything, and see how it looks like. That's why my paint jobs never come out really good, because I scratch it up. But I'm not that big of a stickler for that. Yeah, a couple of scratches and stuff doesn't bother me. Here we go. Yeah, that looks nice. That. All right, this is my plan for the knees. The knees used to be connected by a peg, and this peg will go through the old legs, and it doesn't work with the new legs. And I really want to keep the new legs knees, because that's where all the articulation um, happens. So what I need to do is modify the old legs to take in the new knee, and to have that happen, there's gonna be a lot of customization that has to be done. I'm gonna have to drill and place a rod to allow me to take access to the polycap that the original knee had, and by doing that I may destroy the leg, and yeah, it's gonna be interesting. My other options are to use the Dom's dies and replace it with the Z-Lock, but I never like the way it looks. It bulges up too much and it looks kind of comical. And also in the past, I never had good luck making this type of modification work. So I'm gonna take my luck with the knees. What, yo, what's up, guys? What I wanted to do ended up working out excellently. It was more difficult than I wanted it to, but it works. That's the important part. But I'm gonna show you step by step how I sheathe this. Alright? So the first thing, right here, I need the clearance for allow this piece to one slide in, because I need it shave the size of these, and then for this to actually tilt, I need to cut the top of this just to give it more room. And I'm not trying to be precise on this, because I don't really need to be precise. No one's really gonna sit down and measure it and look at it with a microscope. Alrighty, there you go. Now the other part that I need to do is shave this, and it's pretty easy. I'm gonna skip it for right now, but you just lay down on a file and you just go ham side by side until you get the width that you want. For this piece right here, because this piece is gonna rotate, and when it rotates, it's gonna hit these guards. So I want to get rid of these guards. Yeah, now getting rid of those things is easy as in just going in and taking your time. Take this out, put it here. But when you do it, remember not to cut off this peg. You need this peg. This piece, I could probably keep it, but just to keep our life simpler, I'm gonna cut this one piece off, because it's not really necessary, and it's just gonna give me more problems. And now that we know everything works, it will be able to slide in and actually work as a knee. Now we have to recreate the joint that the old Dom legs had, and that's going to be a little bit more difficult than necessary, because the peg that it uses is a really thick one that I don't have access to. People say they use runners, but this peg is way thicker than any runners that I have, so it took me a while to actually find a peg that will be suitable, because I wanted to keep his old body caps. So the plan is to create a new male peg to replace the old dom one for the new knee. And I need to pay attention to where the location of the peg is going to be, because it has to be in the back so it will allow the full rotation of the new knee. And creating this peg is going to be really difficult because um, the knee is a really awkward circular shape with grooves and divots and details. And the only way I could find out to make it work, is to drill all the way through. But if I drill all the way through, I'm gonna have to come back and fill it up with putty, and that's something I did not want to do. But you have to roll with the punches. When I drill, I like to start with a smaller drill bit and work my way to a bigger one. With this project, I didn't have a drill bit big enough for the peg that I'm going to insert, because it's a pretty big peg. So I had to use a sort of hand drill to make it work. I forgot to say this earlier, but you're probably gonna want to try to drill the hole straight, or you're gonna have more problems when trying to insert the peg. I'm inserting the peg to test fit if my holes are actually straight, and yes, everything is working out great. So now I'm gonna try to sandwich the body cap in between the two hoses. That actually ended up being more difficult than necessary, but one thing that helped me is um, the peg. I sanded it to a point and I threaded the needle. This helped me a lot to navigate the tight tolerances that I had to actually achieve it. After checking if the knees are working properly, now I could put my attention on how I'm gonna connect the leg to the knee, because by recreating the knee, we changed the points that the knee needed to actually connect to the leg. And now I'm looking through, and these legs are connected with ball joints. And to connect the knee, it has a peg, and the peg is really easy to recreate if I actually need it back. So um, I believe I'm just gonna cut off the peg and super glue anything that needs to be super glued to make it work. Now I'm working on the weapons, the that 4 barrel machine gun. Um, the whip is a pretty simple one. I just need a first drill hole to allow the flag dispenser that I'm using for the barrels to be inserted. And when I do insert it, I make sure that it fits in perfectly and align it. Um, so it'll look good. After I'm done with the barrel, I move towards the ammo clip. The ammo clip, I like the way they look, but I want to extend it. So the way I extend it is I grab a couple of pop plates and I cut them to shape. I have 3 of them right now, and they're like a 1/8 of an inch long and a thick, 1/8 of an inch thick. And I pretty much sand one side of them to have something that the glue could grab on, and then I just stack them up with glue, and yeah, hopefully that works. And I extended the ammo clip. When you see me sanding something, I like to use water to keep the dust under control. So I mostly use a wet damp towel, and I keep everything like just slightly moist or just a little bit wet, just to allow the dust to not fly around and collect everywhere. And now I'm going to insert the gun area to the weapon itself. Right now I'm drilling hoses to this soft rubber piece. It's actually a little bit difficult to insert a gun. And I'm using the gun as a base to use as the stock, the handle, the trigger. And I cut off the piece, but I cut off a lot of the non-necessary pieces that I do need for the gun, or I did not need for the gun, and like the scope and some other stuff. And now I'm just trying to make uh, the hole exact enough that I could slide in the gun itself. And I want it not to be too loose, but I don't need it to be that tight either. And right now I'm just gonna use super glue to hold it into place. This is not gonna set it, but this is just gonna hold it for when I use epoxy, like right now. The epoxy normally comes in two parts, part A and part B. When you mix it together, they harden, and I like using this to make modifications. It hardens over time, and you don't have to put it in the oven or nothing like that. See, I filled in the gaps, and that is gonna hold the gun into place. Right now, I'm checking if the gun will be straight because when this dries, it dries hard, and it's gonna lock it into place. This is a new piece I'm using for the ankle intake, and right now it's connected, but the way it's glued together with a small surface area between the two pieces, making the connection a weak connection. So I'm trying to reinforce that connection by increasing that surface area that the glue could bond and reinforce it. This will make the piece a lot more stronger than if I just leave it there without reinforcing it. And I'm just using small pieces of plot plate to fill in the gaps or to bridge the two pieces. Alright, we're getting almost done with the modification stage. I filled in the gap with the knees and sanded it smooth. I added the wind gunner's backpack and I cut it in a way that it could fit the round edge of the leg. And I added it with these two pegs that I drill holes so when I put epoxy in it, it won't move around. The backpack was a simple endeavor. The Z-Gog had two hoses where the old backpack used to go, so I just extended it with pegs, and those pegs aligned perfectly with the backpack. So I just had to drill hoses, and yep. So the thruster, I added a peg for the thruster, and I drilled a hole for the peg, and I sanded the area in an angle, so I allowed the thruster to go in an angle. And this is a generator piece of a decoration part. I just drilled two hoses, add two pegs, and attach it to the back. Simple as pie. Now these wires or cables, I put two pins in it, and yeah, it's just attached with two pins. Self-explanatory. On the front, I added this piece to add like they had a bigger generator placed to it. And I wanted to look like a rough job. And this decorated piece connected with the cables. I used the same method with a peg and hole. And right now everything else is hold by ticky tack because I'm not sure how I'm gonna connect everything. And now with the gun, I extended the handle so it fit better with the hand. And I drilled two hoses for the ammo pack to connect to. I cleaned up the ammo pack. Now everything is smooth and it looks like one piece. Hopefully when I prime everything looks good. And yeah, that's all, folks.
Wow, okay. I'm just going to throw it out there. I think I can probably call who's going to be the winner of this challenge based on the level of customization that you're doing. So I'm excited to see what the finished product's going to look like. Thank you guys so much for watching this update. We're probably going to have one more video before we reveal the final builds, and hopefully you guys enjoy them. Catch you later.